Yeah, I manage the Transmission Control Center operations here at OG&E. We've got system operators that are operating the system. That consists of monitoring the system flows from generator to substation to ensure that we don't have overloads or that we don't have voltage excursions. We monitor the scheduled flows versus the actual flows to make sure that everything happens the way it's supposed to. And if it doesn't, we have procedures in place to bring them back into compliance. Okay. Yeah, we have a transmission system that is essentially a network. So that if you do have an outage on a particular transmission element, it generally doesn't result in an outage to the customer. So the power can still flow to the distribution substation through another circuit. We operate under what we call an N-1 criteria. And N-1 simply means that we operate as though the next transmission line failure has already occurred. We do studies, we do analysis to see what would happen in those events. Our operators use a contingency analysis tool to evaluate the various alternatives if we were to have a failure.
So this is the Distribution Control Center, and we manage the distribution system of our network. So that's from the substations to customers' homes and businesses. And one of our primary activities is managing power outages. And so we're responsible for identifying the power outages and dispatching first responders to those power outages and ultimately getting everybody's power restored. We monitor the weather and we get information from a meteorologist in events where we think there's going to be significant weather events. So in winter storms or thunderstorms and tornadoes, those kind of activities. So having customers call in does help us identify. So we do get some information from our distribution system that tells us when customers have power and when they don't. It does help us to identify a power outage to have customers call in. And that helps our system narrow down where the power outage is and where we need to send first responders to. So generally when a car hits a pole, so we'll usually get several phone calls, and so those tickets will come in through customer service, and we'll get calls from police, fire, and we'll get calls usually from people saying there's lines down, and we'll get information from our system saying there's a power outage, and the dispatchers in the control center and operators will work to make sure that they understand where the power outage is, and we'll send the appropriate crews, and they'll work to make sure that everything is safe. And if there's line work, like when a pole's been hit, if there's line work that needs to be done, then we'll get those line crews out to restore power. So System Watch reflects the outages that we see in our outage management system, and in general it's a general tool that shows where power outages are and how many there are, and as we work through a process, it will show, through our process of restoring power, it will reflect what customers have been restored. That process can be delayed based on how we work and how we reflect things in the system. And so there can be a lag time between the time a customer actually has power restored or customers have power restored and it appears in System Watch.